600 wins, 6 Georgia State championships, 16 regional championships, 2-time National Coach of the Year, first team from Georgia to win the City of Palms Classic, the nation's #1 high school tournament, first team in Georgia history to attend the Dick's Sporting Goods National Tournament of Championships. He's produced numerous NBA players and professional basketball players all over the world. It's real basketball talk. It's real help and real life with Coach Doug Lipscomb on the BG Podcast Network.
And welcome once again to Real Life Basketball with Coach Doug Lipscomb and yours truly, Darren Sutherland, brought to you by our friends at the State Farm Carriage Automotive Group Classic coming December 2nd to Milton High School. Some of Georgia's greatest teams, including the big matchup between Pebblebrook and Jonesboro, Milton, Rockdale County. So many other great matchups. Coach, how you doing today?
Great.
Good to see you. Great. High school basketball started. College basketball started. We'll jump right into the show with some news because there's a lot of big news out there across the entire world and across the entire continent. Let's just throw it on out there with Mr. Marketing Genius, his Self's family, the Ball family. One of the guys done got thrown in jail with his 2 UCLA teammates because his daddy, letting his younger son drive a Lamborghini or whatever it was we've talked about in the past. Now the son gets allegedly, we got to put allegedly in there. But in China, I got to say, they got all these cameras everywhere, so they got him on film stealing from 3 different stores. What does that do for the Ball's image, Coach?
Well, we all make mistakes, first of all.
Yeah.
But I am very, very concerned on when this young man, might get out of jail.
I mean, they're talking, I've seen reports they're going to keep him under house arrest for 20 days. I've seen reports that he could get 10 years. I mean, China could make an example of these 3 young men over there. I mean, this is a foreign country. I mean, you've taken trips to foreign countries. When you get under somebody else's flag, you're under their rules. I mean, it's a sticky situation. And then, of all things, the daddy and the younger son, LaMelo, is over there promoting themselves at the same time in a different city in China. Kind of weird, don't you think?
I think it's very weird. I had the opportunity of one of my friends, Stacy Davis, sent me a feed where they were outside, evidently, a mall or wherever, and they were inviting people to come to like an opening or so that they could promote the shoes.
You know what? Let me tell you this. My son's in a foreign country, and he's in jail. The only reason I'm in that foreign country is to get my son out of jail, not to make money. That's just me personally, Coach. I don't know, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree, and that's the main purpose. I would be there, So let's not make this situation light because it's not, and that's where we're not in control of some things. And then I'm going to try to stay away from the politics because we might not agree on things.
Right. You're exactly right. Hey, let's move on over to the NCAA. We'll keep up with that story as we go along because it's going to be a big story in basketball. And as always, Real Life Basketball wants you to know about it. Hey, check us out on Facebook, our new Facebook page, Real Life Basketball. Look for our page. Send us questions. Send us topics you'd love to hear us discuss on there. You can see a picture of Coach and my good-looking self on there. Cody, we need to throw one of you up there. You're the young guy, our producer Cody here. But, Coach, the University of Houston guard, Rob Gray, had to sit out of a game Friday night, the season opener, as part of a 1-game suspension handed down by the NCAA because he played in a church league basketball game and was given and paid a $5 entry fee to play in a church league basketball game. It's getting kind of ridiculous. What do you think, Coach?
First of all, I would like to know who informed him of him playing in the church league. And what does that have to do anything with NCAA? I mean, I think the NCAA needs to hire somebody that has to just handle BS so we don't have to get to it. And then we can just kick it in the trash can where it needs to be.
I mean, this is crazy. Coach Kevin Sampson said it was a violation, so we got to take it. But you know what he's saying behind the scenes? I mean, if you was Kevin Sampson, what would you – I mean, you're going to have to say the politically correct thing because the NCAA is a governing body. But what are you thinking as a coach?
Well, it's kind of like if I was coaching the game, I just say maybe you'll get the next one right, Ralph.
Maybe they will get the next one right. And we could go on with the NCAA all week and all month long for the things that they do or don't do, so to speak. But, hey, college basketball players out there listening, high school basketball players out there listening, don't play in church league basketball games. The Lord will approve, but you may get in trouble. What do you think, Coach?
I have to agree with you, but just make sure nobody's taking up any funds, making a contribution, so to speak.
It makes me wonder. Hey, I'm gonna keep it real right here. Makes me wonder, why ain't the NCAA out watching? Let's see. These chain link fence basketball tournaments out there where Joe and Bob are standing over there on the corner betting a little money on who's going to win and who's not going to win. I mean, let's just keep it real, Coach. If we can worry about church league games, we just need to take it to the streets because we all know what happens. Hey, let's keep it up, keep talking. NCAA hoops started this weekend. I watched a couple of games, and I'm going to be the first out there to say this, Coach. John Calipari and the Kentucky Wildcats are the most overrated team in America, beyond a shadow of a doubt. He does not have a top 10 basketball team right now, and I'll tell you why. But did you see any of Kentucky's games this weekend, Coach?
I did.
I mean, they playing Utah State Valley Community College, okay? Utah State. You ever heard of Utah State Valley Community College?
I have not.
How long you been around basketball, Coach?
All my life.
All your life. And Coach he passed 40 years old, folks, okay? He may be a young man at heart, but he's been around basketball. He's never heard of Utah Valley State Community State. I'm sitting there, never heard of Utah Valley Community State. And Utah Valley Community State, and I know I'm killing the name, and my apologies to Utah Valley Community State, but they were up at halftime on the Wildcats, and, yeah, they lost by 9, but they had a chance of beating them. They really did. And, and then they play the Vermont Catamounts, which Vermont is always a good team. It was like watching a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament against a 13 seed on Sunday. Kentucky played Vermont, and they barely won that game. And I was telling Coach earlier in our pre-show talk that I think the only reason Kentucky won, Coach, is because they've got these guys standing there 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", and their wingspan is 7'5", 7'6", and the threes ain't falling right for Vermont. They one shot away from losing to Vermont Catamounts, who 29-3 last year. I don't care what league you play in. 29-3 is pretty good, don't you think?
Oh, that's a very impressive record. But I'm going to go ahead and add that on any given night, if you're not on your A game, you can lose.
What is some of the disadvantages Calipari? And I'm going to pick on Kentucky because no one don't like Kentucky. I'm just going to be honest with you. And if you don't like the fact that I don't like Kentucky, send us a message at Real Life Basketball on our Facebook. We'll talk to you about it a little bit later, and you can look at our Twitter feed and everything else. Kentucky's produced some great players through the years, all the way back, great guys like Sam Bowie and Mel Turpin, John Paxson. Just the list goes on and on. Great players in the NBA right now, John Wall, to name a few, just a tough. But you're thinking about Calipari. What disadvantages does he have, Coach, with 5 freshmen on the floor? Because he's created this one-and-done scheme pretty much, more than any other coach in college basketball. What do you think?
Well, the kids are there, and they're going to compete. But you hit the nail right on the head. They are young right now.
Yeah.
They're very talented, so let's just see how things work out throughout the season. When you start talking about the SEC, I've got to go with Alabama.
You going with now, Coach? When you were coaching, did you ever have the opportunity to go play internationally at Wheeler? Did you? I ain't never asked you that before, so I don't really know. I probably should know, but did you ever go anywhere?
Well, we went to the Bahamas and played the home team there twice in the same tournament. But we won.
You won that tournament? Okay. But, how is basketball growing internationally? It's got to be doing something when you see these kids coming from Nigeria, when you see these kids coming from all across the world. Basketball has to be growing internationally by leaps and bounds.
It is, and everybody wants to be competitive, and of course, everybody wants to beat the USA.
Yeah, that's the way it works. And one of these days, Coach, you and I are going to get a guest on here, and we're going to sit down and we're going to tell coaches all across America how to recruit kids from Eastern Europe and Africa to come play for your team because it's getting to be the way it is. Talking about some of the top teams in the country, let's move over and talk about some of the top players and top recruits from 247 Sports this year. R.J. Barrett, Mount Verde Academy, the small forward, 6'6", 180, committed to Duke this weekend. The rich get richer, don't they, Coach?
Most definitely.
Why does a kid keep choosing Duke and Coach K?
I mean, if you want to be seen and you want your reputation to get up, and though you are in a very good program, that's the place to be.
We talked about this young man in our initial broadcast and talking about recruits, the number 2 recruit in the country, which now makes him number 1 technically because he can still be recruited and he hadn't pledged anywhere yet or signed anywhere or committed anywhere, any of that kind of stuff. Mr. Zion Williamson of Spartanburg Day School, the 6'6", 275-pound. I read somewhere this weekend that people say he is very comparable. I haven't seen him play. You've watched him play for years now. People say he is the next Charles Barkley. Is that a good way to describe the young man?
Well, I mean, he would have to say Charles Barkley with handles and definite leaping ability and can shoot the three. He's all around.
Well, I mean, same exact size, 6'6", 275. So is he faster than what Barkley was? Is he stronger on the boards than what Barkley was? Barkley was the round mound, the rebound. Tell us a little bit about Zion, Coach.
Well, Zion is one of the most skilled kids that I've ever seen play. He has nothing but a tremendous upside, and he's all around. He's a good teammate. He's a very humble kid, and the sky's the limit for him.
Newsflash, Coach. Newsflash. This is when you know you got connections. We just got this update doing the show live. Update on the ball situation in China. Donald Trump, our beloved president, has asked the Chinese president to resolve it quickly. So, come on, comment, Coach. What do you think? I mean, Mr. Ball's got the connections. If Donald Trump's making a statement, Mr. Ball has reached out to somebody to get Donald Trump involved in a basketball situation. What do we think is going on?
Well, I can look at it this way. That kid might be over there for the rest of his life. No, I'm sorry, y'all. I shouldn't. I ain't gonna. I'm on the air. My bad. But I don't think we're looked at very well in the public eye right now, our country. So hopefully they will say it was the kids that were involved and that we can get them home as soon as possible.
I'm gonna turn this thing just a little bit. I'm gonna turn the volume up just a little bit on this little situation now that we had to scoot over to this because this breaking news just happened, okay? This is just me. I'm just a marketing guy. I'm just the ad guy. I'm just thinking out loud here. Mr. Ball realizes how many people are in China, okay? He realizes he's got one son playing for the Lakers doing a great job. Youngest kid ever, Lorenzo Ball, passed LeBron James this weekend as the youngest player in the NBA to record a triple-double, okay?
Yes.
But the marketing side says he knows what a less than stellar Stephon Marbury means in China. We all saw Stephon at his best at Georgia Tech in his first few years here with the Nets, okay? Maybe Mr. Ball understands, hey, U.S. market done dominated by basketball players. Maybe I can take my younger 2 kids and my oldest son, let them play in China, and they can be monster. I mean, we all know how big Yao Ming was in China. We've never been there, but basketball's huge in China. Would you agree, Coach?
Oh, it's definitely big. But I think somewhere along the line, it's going to have to be done in a different manner. And when I say that, it's like I've never seen anybody go to those countries and just be like, I'm going to just tell you how I feel. Somehow it has to be some tact, I think, added in there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. So how do we go from – this is what you get on real-life basketball, folks. You go from bashing University of Kentucky to talking about the great things in high school basketball going on with kids like Zion Williamson to all of a sudden talking about Donald Trump and what the Ball brothers are doing in China. We want you to listen to the show. We want you to email us. We want you to hit us up on Facebook. We want you to tell us what's going on and what you're thinking and what's going on out there, because there's a lot of things going on in real-life basketball. I want to remind you once again, don't pay $5 to play in a church league basketball game, because the NCAA will get on to you. And I'd love to find out, like you said at the beginning of the show, I keep going back, who told on them for that? Who told on? That's what blows my mind. That's what blows my mind.
Pay the $5 back.
He had to pay the $5 back, too, is what they said. I'm sure that broke him. I'm sure. And you know what? Kevin Sampson couldn't have gave him the $5. That was fun. That'd be fun. NBA, Coach, let's talk about it just a second. The most disappointing team in the NBA right now, no doubt, has got to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, 6-7 right now. Even lost to the lowly Atlanta Hawks, who've only won 2 games this year. Atlanta beat them, and I think you were texting me that day, or we were talking when Atlanta beat Cleveland. Atlanta had only won 1 game, and they beat the Cavs. Now, the Cavs are easy to jump on and beat up on because everybody does it. But, Coach, you've seen the Cavs play this year. What's got to happen to get the Cavs better?
Well, I think they got to start playing more cohesive basketball, spread the ball around. I did see one night where LeBron had over 50 points, but the effort was to get him the ball every time down the court. I would hate for him to come up one night and have a hurt ankle or something like that, because they would get beat by 40 points.
Yeah. Well, you know, yesterday he scored 11 or 12, and Kevin Love had 29. But I think Kevin Love's best days are left up there with the Timberwolves. Maybe I'm wrong. But, you know, LeBron, he scored 50 one night. He's still averaging 28.5. And you know who the leading scorer in the NBA is right now? Have you seen the numbers?
Well, I would think it would be a man from Houston.
No.
Try again.
James Harden's number 2. But, you know, James Harden, I say that's probably the worst trade in NBA history between the Timberwolves and the Rockets. But the number 1 scorer in the NBA, and I always butcher this name with my country accent, Coach. Cody, what's the name?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
The best player in the NBA.
Giannis Antetokounmpo from Giannis.
Why?
Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm a basketball guy, but you know what? I ain't seen Giannis play. I've seen his highlights, but I ain't seen him play.
I have. He's
22
good.
years old, 6'11".
Where's he from?
Greece.
Greece.
What's his nickname?
Greek freak.
Yeah, it is.
The Greek freak. I wouldn't have known if he was from Greece or if he was from Senegal.
I ride with Giannis hard. I think he's the best player in the NBA. And he's a freak of nature, even in ways that LeBron's.
Was he a free agent? Second round, first?
He came into the league when he was 19. This is his fourth year in the league.
Thank you, Cody. Man, listen to this, Coach. If we go down the list, top leaders in points, 2 out of 5 of them are foreign born.
Yes.
Mr. Porzingis at the Porzingis. Only reason I know who Mr. Porzingis is because when I play NBA Live 2K, that's who I always play with is the Knicks because I like the Knicks. I like the foul. But he's third. He's got 30.4. But Giannis, you know, and Mr. Porzingis, he's from Lithuania, I think.
Yeah, one of those.
One of those little Baltic state countries up there. But here's something I'm noticing, and I bet you notice this, Coach, too. Since Carmelo Anthony is now in Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook ain't getting his 30 points a night, but he's getting his assist. He's 10.2, so he's doing a good job there. Good job there. If we look in the rankings, Coach, your guy is tearing it up. Not individual stats leading so much, but your player, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen used to play for the coach at Wheeler High School. He's got Boston leading the East. They're 11-2, Coach, right now as we sit here today. What does I mean, this is only his second year in the NBA. What should we expect from Jaylen in the next 5 years, Coach?
Like I always say, he's going to continue to work hard, and I like the nucleus of that team as far as being Kyrie, because they're playing good together, and that's extremely important.
Kyrie Irving, team player. Jaylen Brown, team player. Al Horford, team player. Brad Stevens, one of the most underrated coaches in the world. We talked about Indiana basketball earlier. I often thought if Indiana basketball ever wanted to get back on the hoops as far as being a national program, they should have took Brad Stevens out of Butler before the Celtics got him. But Danny Ainge went over there, little old Danny Ainge, who beat Tree Rollins up one time, if everybody remembers that. Little old 6 foot tall. You remember that fight he got into with Tree Rollins that time? I mean, if you
saved him. They saved him.
I mean, Danny Ainge is going to pick a fight with 7'2" Tree Rollins. Cody, that's before you was born, but it was something else. It looked like something off Saturday night Georgia Championship Wrestling, but they're good. Golden State 10-3, Houston 10-3. Everybody's going ahead and conceded the NBA title to Golden State. Coach, in your opinion, Houston got a shot?
Oh, I think they do. But let's go back to the stats up here.
All right, what you got?
I like the fact that James Harden is averaging 30 points, and he's number 2. He's also number 2 in assists in the league with 9.8. So, I mean, you round that off one time, you're almost looking at 31 points and 10 assists.
Hey, that's MVP-like numbers. I mean, if he keeps going like that, and they're 10-3 right now. What I always look at when I look at stats is I look at stats, but then I look at the points is easy because in my lifetime, the 2 best scorers I've ever seen in the NBA were Bernard King and George Gervin, okay? Just pure scorers. They never were, but for whatever reason, either the team around them wasn't great, but they could just always score. I mean, think about this, Coach. Bernard King used to just light it up, but he never was on a winning team, it seems like. Never was. George Gervin, the Iceman, same way. Never was. But when you look at somebody like Harden, who's getting almost 30 points a game, 10 assists a game, and he's on a winning team at 10-3, hey, that's saying something. Yeah. That's saying something for Mr. Harden. But at the same time, we don't see Mr. Curry around here nowhere on these top stats. Really, when you look at the top stats, Coach, notice this: points, assists, field goals, steals, rebounds. There's not a Golden State player mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, in the top 5 all the way down. So, I mean, hey, but Golden State, 10-3. If you went to Vegas today and say, I want to lay odds on the NBA champion, who's everybody picking, Coach?
I like Houston, but I never want to count out Golden State.
You count out the defending champion.
You can't count out Golden State. Golden State.
Yeah.
I think, Mr. Kerr's got Golden State playing well. But, here's what I'm going to ask you, Coach. This is off base here. Say Golden State went over to China to play basketball, and one of their bench players got locked up, and they wouldn't let them go. Would Donald Trump be asking the president to let them out of jail and send them off?
Help with basketball, but football is a wash. It's not going to happen.
Would he ask for a Golden State player?
No, and they didn't go to the White House.
They didn't go to the White House either. They didn't go to the White House either. Hey, folks, want to remind you once again. Coming December 2nd to Milton High School, it's the State Farm Carriage Automotive Group Classic, featuring some of the top teams in the state of Georgia coming in. The big matchups, including Milton, the home team, versus Rockdale. Pebblebrook versus Jonesboro, Johnson and Savannah coming in, Langston Hughes coming in, Trinity Christian, Holy Innocents, and so many more great teams that day. You don't want to miss it, and to be a part of that great event and for the State Farm Carriage Automotive Group Classic coming in. What you got, Coach?
I just want to add a couple more things. Let me say something about the Texas A&M basketball team.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking for big things from that program as well, with one of my former players being an assistant coach there. And I'm also want to give a shout-out to Darius Perry for being for having 17 points in his first college game for Louisville.
He had a good game. I noticed that myself. And you know what? Congratulations to Darius, because he's playing under tough situations. their coach of 16 years, Rick Pitino, is not at Louisville anymore. And, hey, when these smaller schools come in at the beginning of the year to jump on these teams, folks really go hard. I mean, if I'm playing at Utah Valley Community College State and I'm playing Kentucky, I'm probably going to play real hard too. Ain't you, Cody?
Yeah, I'm going to give it everything I've got.
That's right. I mean, I noticed this weekend where the school right down the road from us here, Kennesaw State, was on TV this weekend. I forget who they were playing, but they were on big time TV, ESPN or somebody.
That's good.
I forget who this is. So congratulations to the Owls and all that kind of stuff. This week, Coach, a couple of things I want to ask you about. And let's just go. I want to go back to the top players. And I'm going to talk about one of your kids that you that's at Wheeler High School right now. He's ranked number 25 in the country, but with size alone, he's going to move up. The 6'10", 200-pound E.J. Montgomery. Tell us a little bit about E.J. and what fans at Watch Wheeler High School should expect from E.J. this year.
Well, E.J. is an outstanding young man, first of all. His family and parents have done a really good job with him. His older sisters play European basketball. He's just been a blessing to have in the program there.
200 pounds. He's 6'10". How much weight can they get on him, Coach, you think, at the next level?
He might weigh more than that now.
He may.
But he's going to be the go-to guy.
So for Wheeler to win, it's got to go through him?
It's got to go through him.
Got to go through E.J. Montgomery. How much pressure is that on a high school kid when they know for them to win the state championship, everything's got to go through them? Basketball is a little bit different than football. Yes, football, you can have a great kid, but basketball is a little different. Every sport's a little different. Basketball, a lot of times, you got that one kid that's just like E.J. Just, I don't want to say head and shoulders above everybody, but you just feel it, you just see it, and you see his presence on the court. How much pressure is that on a 16, 17-year-old kid in high school to walk around when he's got 1,200, 1,800 students walking down the hall with him every day?
Well, I think it's rewarding in the sense that, some people like to be depended on. I mean, I do. I mean, because I think my requirements was I needed to win.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. And that's the purpose of being ranked. You need to show people why you're ranked.
Yeah, no doubt. And he can move up from number 25, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I hope so. Because I think if you can stay in that top 25, you're a good candidate for the McDonald's All-American game.
And that's a good game to be a part of, wouldn't you agree?
Most definitely.
I love talking and hearing the stories about that game from you. Hey, guys, big games coming up this week. We've already talked about them. Coach has made his predictions. We've made our predictions. High school basketball starting in a big way right now. The tournament games are going on. What are high school coaches feeling right now as they're getting their teams set? Are they real concerned with winning these tournament games? Or are they more concerned to getting the teams ready for the region so they can make their march to the state, Coach?
Well, that was a litmus test this weekend, just to see how we're going to perform or how you're going to perform under the crowds in the first game, jitters, get that out of the way, and then everybody should be playing on Tuesday, Friday, Saturday from this point on.
What do you say to that first-year coach out there that's listening, Coach, that's worried to death because he's got 1,000 people watching him do his job with his back turned to him, making comments on every substitution he makes, on every play he calls, on every defense he calls? What would you say to that coach right here today, Coach?
Well, I tell them to block that out because they're not playing the game. So they have really nothing to do with how your kids are performing.
Did it ever once, I mean, you coached for 25 years, did it ever once get on your nerves, somebody in the stands? Well,
it did one time. And I was in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
And we got some listeners out in Arkansas. We noticed that on the so thank y'all guys for listening out in Arkansas. But keep going, Coach.
Yeah, like I said, we were in Arkansas, and I had a player that was recovering from an injury, and at that time, I could only play him for 2 quarters a game. And when he was in the game, he was getting about 20 points a quarter. So we got around to the last game, and I couldn't put him in one of those quarters. And in the crowd, this guy behind me was like, "That coach is crazy as hell." I said, "Hold on, man. I had to turn around and tell him he's been injured, so you need to be quiet, okay?" But I didn't say it in that terminology. It was something.
You told him he needed to shut him. Come on, you know better than this.
But I think he understood after I talked to him.
Hey, folks, it's been fun once again. Want to remind you, check us out. Real Life Basketball on Facebook. We'll give our Twitter information next week when we get all that fun stuff set up. Thank you for listening all across the country and across the world. We had listeners in Germany listening to the show, Coach. What do you think about that? What do you know about Germany? You got somebody you know over there listening to the show or something?
I've been in those parts before.
Hey, I ain't never been over. Got another one in Australia. My daughter came back from Australia. She was a summer student over in Australia this year. I ain't never been there. The only thing I know about Australia is they serve McRibs all year long over there. What about that? Anybody that eat McRibs and drink beer all the time got to be crazy as hell. Got to be crazy. But anyway, Coach, big things in basketball coming up this week. What are you looking forward to this week in basketball?
Just being able to go and see the other teams play that I haven't seen yet, and just being able to be around basketball. That's what I love.
That's right. Coach Doug Lipscomb, 600 wins, 6 state championships, tons of region championships. What I mess up there?
No, you didn't mess up anything, but I need to also go ahead and say I want to see Jordan Tucker in the game where he plays for Duke against Michigan State.
You want to see Jordan Tucker against Michigan State? You know they've got a just from everything I read, the Duke game wasn't on TV against Utah Valley Community College, like Kentucky against Utah Valley Community College. Why they put that game on TV, I'll never know. Every Kentucky game is on TV. It's just like it's crazy.
It's one of those programs that you're forced to watch.
We're just forced to watch it. I mean, Calipari sitting there with his Rolex watch, and all this and that and another, but. They said Mr. Bagley looked like a pro out there.
Yeah,
and the big kid from Pace, I wonder how he looked. What's his name?
Wendell Carter.
Wendell Carter. He ranked one of the top kids in the country. So, big time. You know who we didn't mention because we got interrupted with Mr. Trump before we go out? You know who we didn't mention? Who is the freakish basketball player that's ever walked into the NBA other than Chuck Nevitt? You remember Chuck Nevitt was the backup center for the Lakers.
Manute Ball.
Manute Ball. Folks, Manute Ball's son is the number 3 ranked high school player in America. Coach, do you know his name?
Bo.
Bo.
Finley Prep,
Seattle, Washington. Bo. You know what? He's under the age of 18, so I ain't going to pick on him. But I'm going to say this. His daddy's passed away, God rest his soul. His daddy was 7'8". I never will forget when they brought him in to play for the Washington, we got to say Wizards. It was the Bullets back at that time. They had to change the name from the Bullets. Like that's made a difference in shootings, renaming them Wizards over Bullets. I mean, Lord help. Ain't nobody going bad part of Washington, D.C. anyway. But, Coach, they named him Bo. His mama should have done something a little different, don't you think?
Maybe, no, I'm not going to criticize that at all.
Maybe named him Steve. Or D'Angelo. D'Angelo Bo sounds better than Bo. I'm kidding with the kid. I'd kid with him if he was sitting right here to shake his hand and congratulate him on being the number 3 player this week. Coach has had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun. I look forward to Tuesday night. Cody, what are you looking for this weekend real quick? Tell us what you got in basketball.
Personally, just probably the UNC game. I'll be watching that one on what day is it?
What night is USC plays?
UNC versus Bucknell on Wednesday night.
Bucknell Bulldogs.
Yeah, they played UNI Friday night, blew them out. So I'll probably just be looking forward to that one.
And I got to give a shout out to my buddy Percy Vaughn, Executive Vice President from Kia. His Southern University team plays Duke Friday night, and Percy's going to be a tough game, but don't worry about it. And here's another great game out here, Coach. We didn't even talk about this, but we need to quit. But Stony Brook's playing Michigan State. Who you like in that game this week?
Michigan State by 30.
By 30 or 40. Anyway, once again, look us up on Facebook. Tag us on Twitter, hashtag Real Life Basketball. Look us up on Facebook, Real Life Basketball. You've been listening to the Real Life Basketball Show with yours truly, Darren Sutherland, and the coach, Coach Doug Lipscomb, on the BG Podcast Network.